Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us Deb Coviello, who's the founder of Illumination Partners and the host of the Drop In CEO podcast. Deb, welcome to the program.
Mike, it is my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to just swap some thoughts and connect with your audience. So sincerely appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome, and I want to talk about your podcast and book. I love the name Drop In. It's kind of like the concept of like a pop-up, like quick, easy, and I love that word picture that it brings. So tell us a little bit about your background and what your entrepreneurial journey has been like to this point.
Oh, well, thank you again for the opportunity. Again, I started out STEM professional, went into engineering and followed a career path into manufacturing and operations, leveraging the engineering, problem solving, and then my pedigree finally tuned into quality and operational excellence. I just love asking questions and solving problems, and one of my trademarks is kind of running into the fire where something's not working, put out the fire, get things controlled and stable, and then how can we improve and prevent things from going forward. So my career took me into quality and operational excellence roles at the VP level. But with that mouthful having been said, as I got into higher leadership positions, I finally realized I'm no longer the smartest person in the room. It is not effective to go in and fight the fires, but surround myself with really great people. And then the greatest thing that I could do was to elevate their capability and remove barriers, and leadership development became core to the Drop In CEO brand.
Yeah, and because in reality, every problem or fire, as you describe it, has different nuances, and it's not the same problem and it's not the same solution for every organization or for every problem, because it takes on a life of its own. So that's kind of where you need to have that 60,000 foot view and to be able to kind of approach it with your experience and then come at it with the correct solution. What are some of the first steps that you will go through when you're addressing one of those fires that you're putting out?
So one of the things is I don't go in and just start putting out the fire. I mean, yes, you have to kind of get it under control, but the greatest thing and the greatest discipline a leader can do is listen and speak less. You need to assess the landscape, not only looking at the problem, but you need to see what other people are saying and what really is the bigger business problem that you need to solve, because often they can't see it. It could be we have a customer issue. They complain. They're going to ship things back. We're going to have a recall. And so, yes, you have to make the customer whole. But then I ask more broader questions. How did we get to this point? Have we had this issue before? What's missing in our ability to reliably supply quality product services to our customers? And when you ask broader questions and you have the discipline to ask them, you might find out, oh, we've never had a program to do whatever it was. And then you say, that's the fire we need to put out. Need a lot of discipline in leadership to be able to do that. We're celebrated for the high five once we put out the fire, but those leaders extinguish with time. You want to leave a lasting impact and help the people solve the problem permanently.
That made me think of a question that I wonder if this comes up where, maybe some leaders go in and go, okay, cool, I'm going to put this fire out, and poof, it's out, and they turn around and walk away, and then it's still smoldering. And it really, that you didn't get to the source of the problem, but you think you put it out, whatever that scenario might be. Is that part of some of the things you see where it's like, okay, we got to go in deeper, and then even deeper, and then even deeper. Let's get to the root of the problem, because just putting it out sometimes isn't enough.
Yeah, there's two parts to that. So those are the leaders that get their high from putting out the fire over and over again. But again, you run your people ragged into the ground because you may have then a successful month or quarter and everybody thinks things are fine. But then when it starts smoldering again, then you run your people into the ground, wear them out, and wonder why we weren't able to sustain things. I find the greater power is for me then to step back and first assess the talent. And do the people have the capacity and the capability to do the job, to be successful, to prevent the things. And often I find they've never been trained, they've never been given the opportunity, they cannot communicate between different functional groups, resolve gaps and issues. That's where the leadership component comes in, for which, yes, I'll help solve a business problem with the team and show them the way, but I leave a lasting impact because I want to find out what the capabilities of the people are and elevate them, because you may fix the problem, you might even get to the root cause. But if the people don't have the skills to be successful and sustain handling difficult situations, you've done a disservice. And that's truly the work that a leader needs to do.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and it's like, do you just want that quick win and high five and the accolade, or do you want to just fix the problem? And that's a really great summary there. I love the title of your book, The CEO's Compass, and I'm looking at the kind of the infographic with all the circles and the peace of mind, performance, pride, and all of the aspects that go into that. Talk a little bit about the book and what was the genesis behind wanting and then delivering that book.
There's a couple stories, but the one I really want to share with you is that I sincerely never want to see an aspiring CEO or a CEO who has had a great track record struggle, because I was moving up in the ranks and I didn't have a playbook. And while I had managers and leaders that, we helped solve different problems, nobody to mentor, nobody to coach, nobody to help with personal development or even how to get back on track. So it was one of those things out of my experience and interviewing leaders through my podcast. I had the insights. I said, I got to get this down. This is a tool for anybody who's going through some kind of transformation, who has been a rock star, very talented, fast riser, and then all of a sudden something changes. And they don't know how to get out of it, and they lose their confidence. And confidence has been the root of why people can't move forward. So the book starts from a place of who are you as a leader and how are you going to lead differently? Because if you can't fix yourself, you're not going to be able to leverage the insights I'm about to share with you. So I tell them to put the book down after chapter 1. Don't finish the book until you're ready. But what I then provide are my insights, and it's very based in human-centric leadership. I talk about people, pride, process, etc. And I find that you need to look at your situation and pick the one or two things that are off track. Fix those, and you'll be able to get yourself to true north or peace of mind, not just fix the results. That's the power of the book. You can pick your journey versus I'm going to blow everything up and hire a consultant and put a new system in. You have the ability to solve it yourself, and I give you some of the best insights in this book. So it's my gift to those that I didn't have coming through my career.
Yeah, that, and I like that pick your journey. It reminds me when you're growing up, it's reading one of the kids' books, and it's like, hey, do you want the character to do this? Well, like I hinted at and said earlier, and I think it really was exactly what you just said. Many times this problem or this fire has so many different nuances than another one at another organization, or a fire you just put out at the previous quarter, that you do have to pick your journey and you do have to come at it from different angles. And maybe if they can read and learn in your book, like, ooh, in leadership, I need to, in collaboration, I need to make sure that what are some of the secrets that you teach in there that maybe CEOs need to learn, or maybe that they don't even want to share?
Well, thank you. And there is so much in the book, but I do have to distill down a few things. Some of my major ahas as a leader was, by training, you can fix anything with fixing people, fixing process, and fixing tools, throwing money at a situation. And that does fix a lot of things. But I came to learn that things like integrating organizations, bringing teams together, and getting a particular result based on a business issue needs more. And so I added 2 compass points that are quite unique, one called past and one called pride. All my compass points start with a P. And past is one of those things a leader needs to be disciplined, that when you come into a new team, you need to understand the culture of the people and what made them special to bring them to the current situation. It forces you to get to know them and respect them, because you never know when you're going to need them to really jump in and roll up their sleeves. And the other one is pride. It's the intersection of humanity and their intellectual property. They have talents and gifts and things that they have done that, yes, they are subject matter experts, But when businesses start recognizing that their unique knowledge, that if they left, you would miss it, is intellectual property that needs to be protected. And when we capture that knowledge and celebrate the person for who they are, you've paid respect. And when you are faced with a business issue, because you spent time understanding the past and the pride of the individuals, that leader is going to get a much better sustainable result because they have been shown respect. And I did that in an organization, and the team that I led through an integration never disrupted the customer while we were integrating. And those teams that only focused on platforms and tools and execution missed the mark and actually brought the customer to their knees because they couldn't ship product. That's the difference of leaders that take the time to understand the people versus just the technical way of making a change.
Yeah, that's a big piece, and it makes me think too of sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, and you're right in the midst of the situation. You think everything's just fine. What is it that within an organization that would make a leader or the executive realize, okay, there's some things we need? Of course, we see fires, but how do they know when and who and how to ask for help as far as, going internally or even externally to someone like yourself?
So, great question. And I will actually say I failed once in this area, and I call this corporate courage. A leader has to recognize that when a situation gets beyond their capability or their capacity, and even beyond that of the team, to one, have that awareness, two, find resources to help, and finally, three, be able to pull the trigger. Now, I once had a situation, a leader had called upon me to potentially help them in a crisis, and they chose not to pull the trigger for 6 months. And when they finally pulled the trigger, even though they knew I was the talent and that I could help them, by the time they called me, they were dealing with a product recall. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we went in, I partnered with the leader, we made the situation right with the customer. There were also dynamics where they were getting ready to downsize the company, so we needed to keep a workforce in place so as not to disrupt. We got through that. But do leaders really need to get to a place of chaos or even crisis on my crisis scale to the point where they could potentially lose businesses? Leaders need to stop and pause. Am I at a place where I'm at capacity? I don't need to be the hero working 60, 70 hours a week and killing my people. I need to be able to say, I need help, which is wisdom and strength. And then, be resourceful and leverage the network to find the resources, such as internal capability or perhaps a guide like myself.
And I think that's really, really critical because sometimes I'm sure that there's a phrase for this, but if you don't do something, here's what would happen. Like the if this then that. But I think that you would be coaching them to say, well, if here's the situation, if we don't address this now and fix it, here's what could happen. And I would suspect one of the things that could happen is the people in the organization, even the junior leaders or the team, they could become frustrated enough to either have production lessen and fall or move on. And I think that now all of a sudden the problem is amplified because now you're losing key players within the organization that you were hoping were going to be part of the solution. So what do you do to make sure that that messaging and that, initiative is recognized that the problem's being fixed, as well as keeping the current leaders you have in place?
So that you bring up such a great point, Mike, about corporate destabilization is really what I see that as, is that we may elevate leaders to a particular role because they're wonderful subject matter experts, and we should elevate those people. People will respect that you work internally with talent. But what I am finding is that we then do that, but there is no support system in place to develop the essential skills of leadership, setting a strategy, developing a roadmap, developing a succession plan when faced with a difficult challenge or a gap in understanding between organizations, the tools to be able to have productive conversations. And to your point, when a leader then just shuts the door, ignores the problem, reverts to email, and you can see them even talking about that organization, they are modeling poor behavior. And really the organization or the CEO or senior leaders have done a disservice of elevating people without the support structure, because not only will they no longer perform at the highest level, but people will see that behavior. They will start shutting their doors. They will default to a transaction, and then they will be seeking other employment. So you've lost what was an investment in your people. You have high hopes for performance, but when you don't nurture it and provide the support system, they ultimately become an expense to your business that may be invisible if you don't keep an eye on it. So very, very important to help develop those skills.
Yeah, and then there's probably another aspect of that too, that I know that when I was in corporate America 10, 15 years ago, you would have the boss go to this seminar and come back and I'll be all, hey, we're going to do this. And everyone rolled their eyes going, let's just give it a week because that's going to change. And it did. So I think that the opposite happens where, here comes this problem and they see that it's not being solved the right way. And then maybe they get through it. Maybe the fire gets put out and okay, nobody leaves and all that. But then here comes the next issue or time that a problem comes up. And maybe then the team is not so apt to rush in for, complying with the new, whatever solution that it is because they're like, ugh. So I think that you're almost taking that little pin to the balloon and slowly letting the air out each time that you're not handling one of these fires the right way.
Yeah, we could go on and on about the horror stories of not having done it right, but I would love to share a quick story about where I saw things done quite right. I was asked to go into an organization to help them pass a certification because a customer required it, and if they didn't, they would lose business. So that becomes the hurry, hurry, scurry scenario. And while they had the corporate courage to seek external support and brought me in to help them, what was really good was as we went through the process, getting them ready for certification, then they asked me the question after the deer in the headlight of how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
They were getting closer to the finish line. They said, we need to start even communicating more with our people. Can you give us some talking points that the CEO of the company can then go out to the people and reiterate the importance of the certification for the business, for the community, for the customers in order to remain viable? They took that information and the CEO then communicated the importance. And when it got to the audit, people were very comfortable. They said the right things, but I truly believe they embraced the purpose of the system that our customers were asking us to do. That's when a leader does it right and it starts to stick. The change sticks because the leader has communicated the importance. We miss the mark on that, get the thing in place, but you don't maintain the connectivity with the importance to the business, and that's what leaders need to do.
Yep, because people want to feel like they're part of something, not only vision, mission, and cause and all that, but they want to feel like they're part of the solution. Well, if you don't tie that message to we're doing this so that, and that end result, maybe they feel like they're kind of running blind.
It is a beautiful thing when you're watching the person with the auditor say, this is what I do, again, answer their questions, and here's why it's important that I do this process in this way. Then you say, oh my, they totally get it. This is going to stick because it's part of the fabric of what we're doing. Yeah,
that is awesome. Well, Deb, I really have appreciated you coming on today. I really love the concept of the CEO's Compass. What's the best way that someone could reach out, connect with you, learn more, and pick up a copy of your book?
So I just want to make this super easy. First of all, Mike, thanks you so much for the opportunity. Easiest way to get to all of the resources is my website, dropinceo.com, dropinceo.com. You will get to find out more about the Drop In CEO podcast, an amazing resource with insights from industry leaders. You will have a link to the CEO's Compass, my book, to get you back on track, my blog post, and a way to just connect with me and start to have a conversation. So hopefully I can partner with you and be part of your success. So thank you again, Mike, for the opportunity.
You're welcome, Deb. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.